Good morning, my Teaserking family. How's everybody today? Well, we started off with a good day, 2-0 yesterday. We hit the UTSA North Texas over, as I thought, and then USC Utah, we hit that over. That was the lock and the free play. Never really worried about that one. And as I was watching the game, something that I normally talk about. It didn't matter because we won anyway, which was that USC had just played UCLA, a big emotional game, followed by Notre Dame, another big emotional game. There's no way in hell they were getting up for this one. Not that they couldn't get up for it, but you can't get to that emotional level 3 weeks in a row. So they got their 24. They gave up 46 to Rising. And, to me, Utah should be in the playoff because they beat USC not once, but twice. So this is the problem I have with it. This should have been a playoff game. Utah should advance. Instead, what do you have? Well, yeah, Utah, you beat USC twice. But because you lost to UCLA, you're not in the playoff. We're going to put Ohio State in. Utah would kill Ohio State. Utah's going to kill Michigan if they get in, but they're scared to put them in. Why doesn't Utah win the Pac-10? The Pac-10 champ should go in. That's the point of this whole weekend, right, is to get you the champ. Well, if you win and you're the champ, why wouldn't you get into the playoff? Oh, because you lost a few games. Yeah, because I played UCLA and I played at Florida, and I didn't play New Mexico State like Alabama does. They got 2 crap games. So that's my problem with that. Anyway, so let's get to today's lines. TCU 1.5, 61.5, down from 2.5. I think K-State can win the game, but I think TCU should be in it. I think K-State, if K-State wins, they should be in the playoff. Now, K-State could beat anybody. I'm getting so sick of this. Well, we're going to put Alabama in. They got 2 losses. They didn't play anybody. The 2 teams they played, they lost. They didn't play Georgia. And they're not going to be in the SEC championship game, so that's another loss that they would have had. But you know what? We're going to put them in because they beat Texas 20-19, even though TCU beat them 17-10 and things like that. So it's just ridiculous. Toledo 3.5, 54.5. That's up from 1.5. Toledo's quarterback must be playing, although the over-under didn't move, 54.5. Troy 6.5, 49.5, down from 8.5. The 48.5 didn't move. Went to 49.5. That's really confusing. So it's like what? McCall's not playing. He's out with the knee unless there's something I'm missing here. Let me go to the injuries. Is McCall miraculously playing? No, he's out with the foot. So why would this line move to 6.5? Is somebody out on Troy? But then why would the over-under go up? So this is very confusing. Not really much there for Troy. So I don't understand this line movement at all. Without McCoy, Troy wins this game. Not a problem. Tulane, 3.5, 56.5. Didn't move. Boise, 3.5, 54.5. Didn't move. Georgia, 17.5, 51.5. Didn't move. And Clemson, 7.5, 63.5. Didn't move. And Michigan, 16.5, 51.5. Didn't really move. So there's 2 questions. Does Michigan play? Does Georgia play? Because they're undefeated and because the playoff's so retarded that it's based on record, not who you beat, but your record against weak teams, it then makes it just pure idiotic. So Michigan could lose. So this is confusing to me, right? Utah beats USC, but Michigan can lose to Purdue and get in the playoff because they didn't play anybody. But Ohio State, well, Utah beat USC twice, and they lost to Oregon and they lost to UCLA. Again, two very strong teams. They did beat Oregon State and Washington, and they beat Oregon State with the backup quarterback, I believe, or was that Washington State? One of them they beat when Rising all of a sudden didn't play. I think it was Washington State. They beat them 20-14 with their backup quarterback. This was just pure insanity. But this is where we make money because we know the best teams aren't there. And when they get into their games, like when Utah plays in the bowl game, they're going to kill whoever because they're going to say, look, we should have been there. USC, there was no chance for them. Once I realized that they just played UCLA and Notre Dame, there was no way they were going to win. And Rising shows up, and that's what Rising is. That's why he's the best quarterback out there, but yet nobody recognizes him. Why? Because he's not a running type of quarterback like Kyler Murray. Yeah, we see how good he is. Rising's 10 times the quarterback Kyler Murray is. He's 10 times the quarterback that most of these guys in the NFL go down the list. Daniel Jones, Goff, Lamar Jackson, you go right down the list. Hurts, he's better than all of them by a mile. It's not even close. This guy's just the real deal because he's lighting up with Utah. It reminds me of Russell Wilson at Wisconsin. Wisconsin always has quarterback problems, and Russell Wilson comes in. He lights it up. So that's what we know. So let's go down the list. So Toledo, no, we've already kind of come up with the games. We'll redo them. So Toledo 3.5, 54.5. Ohio's quarterback's out. Toledo's is let's see. I thought even if he plays, well, I think his name's Finn or Quinn. Maybe he's playing. Maybe that's why the line jumped. But Ohio's been playing well without their quarterback. Yeah, Rourke's out with the knee. See, no injuries for Toledo. So let's go to my other injury one. Because sometimes scores and odds just doesn't give you the injuries. Covers.com is supposed to give you the injuries. Let's go to Toledo. I've already gone through the injuries this morning, but I don't know if I saw Toledo's. Yeah, no injury. So let's say the quarterback's playing. That's why the line's jumping. I still like Ohio in the game. I think their backup's been doing well. They've been scoring. Toledo hasn't. 3.5. I like Ohio in the game there. LSU, Georgia 17.5, 51.5. Are they playing? Now, if they win the SEC, which they didn't do last year. So I think there's some incentive. I'm not seeing the line drop as if Georgia's not playing. A guy like Stenson Bennett's going to play regardless. Bauer's the tight end. Well, are they saving him? But I looks like he's playing. So I don't see where Georgia's going to lay down like they did last year to Alabama. LSU's LSU would have to win to get in, and I'm not even sure they get in because they've got how many losses? 2 or 3 losses. They lost to Florida State. They lost A&M. I don't think LSU gets in regardless. I don't like that Alabama gets in because somebody loses because Alabama's already proven they're not a good team. Georgia 17.5. I like the game under because even if Georgia lays down, their defense is going to play. LSU, okay, their quarterback's playing, so the line, the over is going up because this quarterback's playing. Well, good luck because, they're going to be lucky to score on Georgia. Daniels wasn't very good at Arizona State. He's not very good here. He has some big games against some weak defenses, but you're going against Georgia. So I like the game under, as I like all the Georgia games. Fresno State, Boise. Boise laying 3.5. This is our free game. I like Fresno State. Jay Kaner's back, 9.5. This game's dead even. Both teams have good defenses. This should be a very close game. Take the points, take the dog. Clemson, North Carolina. Clemson 7.5. I hate their quarterback. I don't know why he's there. The other one's so much better. This is such ridiculous coaching. This coach should be fired for this. And it's proven that he really isn't that good of a coach. The coach, because he doesn't have the defensive coordinator. My back itches, sorry. Doesn't have the defensive coordinator. Not that I like North Carolina at 13 is okay. I like the game over 63. North Carolina should light them up because Clemson's defense hasn't shown up. The way they looked against, an average Notre Dame team was pathetic. So I don't see, maybe Clemson wins, but I'm not afraid of Clemson. They just lost to South Carolina, but they gave up 31 to them. They'll give up 31 to North Carolina. And apparently they can score, with the running back, Shipley. I don't know. I'm not impressed with Clemson. I'm more impressed with North Carolina, actually. But I think this should be high scoring. So I like North Carolina in the game over 63 to 57. We hit the UTSA over yesterday, 69. T's down. I think I had it at 67. I'm 61, and they score 75. And that's what I tell you when I say these games in the 80s. That's kind of what I mean here. 48-27, a 75. Utah, USC, that was a free one, and the lock over. They're locked with somebody today. USC, they play a nice 71. And I'm just watching the score, and it's, at first it's 17-7 or 17. And I'm a little worried. Then it goes 17-10. And then once Utah starts scoring, I know they're going to score. They actually ran it in a couple of times, like 8-yard runs, a 30-yard run. They were really gutting USC. 47-24 they put up. It's a 71. We're over under 66. Always 60, which we got with 10 minutes left in the game. We're over, which is the beauty of the over. You got a nice over. It's over. Once it's over, it's a winner. And that was it. Like I said, I liked Utah as the dog in the game, but I like the over better. And that's where you determine what do you like more. And I just knew this would be high scoring. Now, how do I predict high scoring is basically the quarterbacks, right? So you have it all here for an over. You have Rising against Williams. You've got over coaches, and you've got weak defenses. USC's defense is not good. Utah's shows is a good defense, but when they played USC and UCLA, they gave up 40. So in the hidden weeds where you think it's an under defense, not against these more explosive Pac-10 teams. And you really can't stop the Pac-10 teams. I look for the Pac-10 teams to blow out everybody in the bowl games. Especially if they play, like if USC gets like a Baylor or a Oak State, if they're healthy, or one of these explosive Big 12 teams, you're gonna have 100-point games all over the place if those two teams meet. Even if they play the Big 10 teams, they'll blow them away. They're so bad. So that's what we have there. So Utah gets the win. Utah goes over, block, another Pac-10 lock over that comes in. The only one we lost was the Utah-Oregon one where the Bo Nix was hurt. Otherwise, all of them, Washington, UCLA, they're beautiful. They just score. They're 47-24 is an average Pac-12 team, Pac-12 game. With the 17, add Arizona and Arizona State to it, and that's what you get. K-State, TCU. Now TCU's 1.5, 61.5. I hope Howard plays. I'd rather have him than Martinez. Martinez, I don't like. Howard definitely scores more. I don't know. Hard to pick the winner of this game, but I like the over 61.5. It's only 55 with TCU, K-State. They're both explosive teams, even though you don't think K-State is. There's something about them. I don't know if it's running or passing, but they score, even though they're not dynamic like the Utahs and the UCLAs and the USCs, but they score a ton, and TCU scores a ton. So TCU's more of an over team. K-State, fairly good defense. The first game, TCU won 38-28. They're down 28-10. They're down 28-10 and then put up 28 in the second half to win 38-28. So you got a nice 66-point game. Here at 61, all you need is 55. There should be no problem getting the 55. But I really have to pick a winner. At 1.5, I like Kansas State, as I like the dog in the game because I think it's even. But I wouldn't want to bet against TCU in 4.5. They just are explosive with the coach and Duggan I like and everything else. Mr. Perkins, good morning to you. How do you feel about Michigan covering the 17? I'll get to that very soon, sir. So this is definitely an over game first, and then maybe the dog second. Troy 6.5, 49.5. I already like Troy at 8.5. I like him more at 6.5. I don't understand this line going down. I don't see injuries to Troy. Coastal Carolina's got quarterback out. McCall, he's out. It's not like he's playing. Without McCall, Coastal Carolina doesn't have a good defense. Troy's a very strong defensive team. I like Troy, especially even, and I like the game under because Coastal Carolina. I mean, I don't know how they compete in the game because they don't have. McCall was their offense, and he's their leader. And when you don't have them, where are they going to score? But their defense still sucks, so it's not like their defense got better. Troy lit up somebody. Who did Troy light up last week? I know I talked about it on another show. Troy lit up Arkansas State 48-19, which is virtually the same as Coastal Carolina. So I look for Troy to, beat Coastal Carolina pretty good. I think they're the better with McCall, Coastal's the better team, but without McCall, Troy's the better team here. And you got them even. And I think under 55 is a good play because they got a really good defense. UCF, Tulane 3.5, 56.5. Both these teams have good defenses. They're both A teams. I probably like the dog in the game, but I like the over in the total better than I like the dog. UCF scores a lot with Plumlee. They have more of a running offense, and then Tulane is very good. What I like about this game is UCF played South Florida like an 80-point game. They gave up 39 to South Florida. It doesn't show me you got a great defense. And Tulane beat Cincinnati 27-24, and we all know how good Cincinnati's defense is. So, I see Tulane putting up 30, UCF putting up 30, and that's a 60, and we're teasing it down to 50. I think this is, definitely gets over 50 in this game. These championship games, as you can see, they tend to, once they get rolling, they keep scoring. This isn't the NFL where, like yesterday, Utah has the lead 40-24, and they just run the clock, and that's it. They keep scoring. Now, sometimes it's maybe USC tried on fourth down, didn't get it, left the ball at their own 30, and then Utah scores, but still they keep trying to score versus in the pros they don't. So I like Tulane over in this game. And then Michigan. Michigan 16.5, 51.5 against Purdue. Now, if Michigan's serious and they're playing, they'll kill them because Michigan's way better than Purdue. Purdue doesn't have a very good defense. They got some injuries. The passing attack, I'm not worried about. Michigan handles that. They'll put pressure on the quarterback. They're very good defense against one-dimensional teams like Purdue. They've always handled Purdue. I think Drew Brees beat them once. That was about it. So I think Michigan handles it. I think they want to win. I think they're going to play. I know it's a big deal. It was always a big deal with Bo to win the Big Ten title. That was their big goal. But back then, it was beating Ohio State. So now winning the Big Ten means you got to win this game. If Purdue wins, then they win the Big Ten. So even though Michigan's in the playoff, because even if they lose, they'll have one loss, and this, which should be a playoff game, isn't, which makes absolutely zero sense. I don't see Michigan losing this game. I think they come out, we want to win the Big Ten. They just beat Ohio State. There's no reason for them to let down. Now, yes, USC played UCLA, big rival, and then Notre Dame back-to-back. And then they had to play Utah. There was no way they were going to do that. Michigan, okay, they beat Ohio State. Will they be flat? Normally they would if this was a regular Big Ten game, they would be. But the fact that they're playing for the Big Ten championship, they're already in the playoffs. So that's my point. So I think Michigan rolls here by 30 or more, just like they did with Iowa last year. They just win. And they're going to get it rolling, and their defense, they'll start playing Purdue. And Purdue doesn't really show me a lot. I'd have to look at, like, how did they play Illinois, but they don't. I think Illinois beat them. They don't show me a whole lot. So I was shocked that Purdue was the one. I thought it would be Illinois or Iowa. And they kept losing because they played a hard schedule, those two teams. So very confusing here how Purdue's in, but they're not even, Illinois is better, Iowa's better, as bad as Iowa was offensively, and then here comes Purdue sneaking in. So it made no sense to me, but Michigan should kill them. This is definitely not strong versus strong. This is strong versus average. The average defense for Purdue, average offense. Michigan's the A team. So Michigan should win. And it's like Georgia. I think Georgia plays. I think they want to win the SEC and win the trophy. I don't think they want to lay down like they did last year. That was more of an Alabama thing where Alabama paid them off to lay down. I don't think they want to I don't think they want to lose to LSU. And LSU does not have the offense to damage Georgia at all. Georgia should win that comfortably too. So that's the pick. So we like Ohio. We like Georgia in the under. Fresno State, which is the free pick. Clemson, North Carolina over. The other free pick was Utah, USC over, which won last night, and was also one of my locks. K-State, TCU, we like the over there at 61. It's a fairly low over for TCU. Troy, Coastal Carolina, we like the game under, as Troy is a very strong defensive team, and Coastal Carolina doesn't have McCall, the quarterback, who's a first-round pick, who should be a first-round pick. So without him, how are they going to generate offense? Their defense is weak. Troy, strong defense. Troy probably wins in a shutout. Tulane, UCF. Tulane beats Cincinnati. Give them credit. I don't really want to fuck with Tulane here, so I like the game over 56.5 to 50. And Purdue, Michigan. I think Michigan rolls. I think it's just their mentality to win the Big Ten. They're so much better than Purdue. Over, under, I don't know. Michigan's got that defense. They did put up a lot on Ohio State. I think if you really want to go that way, I would think it would be an over with Purdue's weak defense. Michigan should score a lot, but then I feel like I'd rather lay the 10.5 and Michigan score a lot. They're going to win by a lot versus worried about 51 going over 45.5, which again seems low. I don't think Purdue gets much. If I had to pick the score, I'd say 48-7, maybe something like that, somewhere close to the 50s. But Michigan clearly winning. So that's college for today. In the pros now, just an update: Green Bay and Chicago. It looks like they're both quarterbacks are playing. I see Fields probable. I see Rodgers probable. I keep seeing them probable, questionable, probable, questionable. Now I see them both probable. The line of 3.5, 44.5 shows me, the over's up. This is clearly an over game with Fields and no defense on the Bears, and Rodgers going to light them up, and then they don't have much of a defense. So you got two weak defenses. The way Fields is running, he can't throw, but Rodgers is starting. All you need is 38 in this game is a freaking joke. Halftime should be, 20-14, which is 34. So I think this is a very easy over in my mind. What else do we have? Baltimore went to 9.5 over 8.5. I didn't really like Baltimore at 8.5, but I certainly don't like him at 9.5. Now, this whole Russell Wilson thing, I don't know if he's playing or not. We'll find that out later today or tomorrow. But yeah, Denver's in a lot of problems, so I don't know. The coach is terrible. The problem is Baltimore lost to Jacksonville last week. How do you bet a team that lost that? Seattle, LA. So it's definitely Stafford's out, which makes me really like Seattle. Seattle's the free play there. The free play tomorrow is Seattle and the Jets. But I really like Seattle now that Donald's out, Cooper Kupp's out, and Stafford's out, and you're having this Virginia quarterback is the best you could find. I mean, this is amazing to me that the guys that make the roster, like Blake Gabbert, like what the fuck is he doing in the league? And all these other good quarterbacks aren't. It just blows my mind. The selection they make is like the worst guy possible. He's the guy you pick. It doesn't make sense. Hey, Todd, Utah should be in the playoffs. Utah would beat Michigan or Ohio State and will beat Penn State in the Rose Bowl. This is my point. I agree 100%. And here in Detroit, they're we'll beat TCU. You ain't beating TCU. If TCU beats Kansas State, you don't have a prayer beating TCU. I hope they play just to shut everybody up here. But so now you're letting Ohio State in for doing what? What did they do? They didn't do anything. They lost to Michigan by 25 points. And now because they've only played one good team, Michigan, and lost, and you look at record, you don't look at what, okay, Utah lost to UCLA. Well, UCLA is a good fucking team. UCLA should be in the playoff also. So should Oregon. I mean, this is like the biggest joke I've ever seen, that the real good teams play each other and then their record's bad. So we got to look at record. Why is Alabama number 6 with that? They got 2 losses and they didn't play anybody. The best team they beat was Texas or what? Ole Miss or Mississippi State. I mean, you got to be fucking kidding me. This is just, the whole thing's a joke. Georgia, at least now, Georgia's, today, Georgia should have to win to get in the playoff. So should Michigan. Ohio State lost their game to Ohio State. Now, either you play the 2 best teams, Michigan, Ohio State should be a playoff game today, or that's it, or the winner of Michigan, Purdue should get into the playoff, which would mean if Purdue wins, they get in. Otherwise, what's the point of today's games? I don't know. The only one that makes sense is the Kansas State TCU game that's actually like a playoff game, but only if TCU wins, and they've already beat K-State. So really, what's the point? Now, if K-State wins, why should they be in the playoff? They already lost to TCU. So the point of this game makes no sense, especially if you're going to knock TCU out of the playoff, which they should be in it anyway, because they'll only have one loss, so they should be ahead of Alabama anyway. So TCU should be in. USC, I never thought was the best team in the Pac-10. I thought UCLA was better, kind of a fluke. Utah beat USC, so I never saw why USC was there. Utah played Oregon and, at Florida. Okay. But, when these teams like Michigan plays Hawaii and Colorado State, you're going to reward them because they won against crap teams. You've got to factor in the teams they play. I was listening to some idiots here, and they're going, well, they all beat up each other like the Pac-10, and so they all have 2 or 3 losses, so they can't be in. And then one guy said about TCU, well, they beat the teams that were, at the time were top 10 teams, but now they're not. Well, of course, because you base it on record. So if TCU beats Oklahoma State, then obviously Oklahoma State falls in the rankings because now they got a loss. The whole system's just incredibly stupid. But if you look at the Big 12, they're strong top to bottom. And Baylor, Oak State, Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas State, and TCU here. You got 7 strong teams, and you go undefeated? What the fuck? I mean, I don't get the point then. I mean, if you think Michigan could have survived the Big 12 or the Pac-10? Hell no, they would not have been undefeated. There's no way they'd beat UCLA, Utah, and USC. And by the way, if they played Oregon, that would have been a loss because they never win in the Big 12 on the road in the Pac-10. So you got all that crap. It's so stupid. But, yeah, Utah killed Penn State. If Penn State's the team, I'm hoping it's Ohio State again. And then we locked that game over last year, and it was over at halftime. And it was like a 60-point over, and it was over at halftime. So I don't know that Ohio State gets in because USC loses. I think TCU's in, but I think Kansas State, if they beat TCU, should be in. What did K-State lose? A couple of games? But anyway, that's what I look at. Why are they playing today then? If K-State wins, why don't they get into the playoff? This is the problem. These should be called playoff games, not, okay, well, let's see, TCU, you beat Kansas State. Kansas State beat you today. So Kansas State's the winner of the Big 12. You're like, no, that TCU already beat them at Kansas State. What the fuck are you talking about? TCU, it's like, it was like the LSU Alabama a few years ago when LSU won at Alabama. And then they play them in the playoff or in the championship game, and Alabama wins. They're the national champs. You're like, no, LSU won at Alabama. What did Alabama do? They beat them the second time. So they each won one, but LSU won there. How is Alabama the champ? Like, what the fuck is going on here? So I question most of Alabama's championships, and because they don't deserve it most of the time. They pay their players, obviously, but nobody goes after them. And there's no way all the 5 stars would go to Alabama if they weren't paid, because the other schools will pay. As we know, Cam Newton got paid to play at Auburn, and I guarantee you Tagliabue, the parents got a house if you went to Alabama. What do you call that? That's not paying? Well, indirectly. Or when these players get cars, or the parents get Cadillacs, or whatever you want to call it. So it's just all bullshit. Alabama never deserves it because they cheat and they get rewarded for cheating. And like here, well, they got 2 losses, so they're going to jump 1 loss, USC or whatever. Is ridiculous. And USC lost to Utah twice. So, to me, Utah should be in. I mean, my top 4 is probably TCU, Utah, UCLA, Georgia, and then I'm not even sure Michigan deserves to be there, but they beat Ohio State. So they played one game and won it. Big deal. Their running back's out. Blake Corum's out, broken leg or surgery, whatever. His knee, he's out. He's gone. Let's see him today against Purdue. But the whole thing's a piece of shit. I mean, because they're doing everything on rankings, but the rankings are not. They're skewed. They're based on record, not who you play. You need to reward the Oregons and the Utahs and the UCLAs for playing 5 good fucking teams. You should get more value out of losing. Like Utah lost to UCLA should give you more value than Michigan beating Indiana or Michigan beating Hawaii, right? Michigan beating Hawaii is more meaningful than Utah playing UCLA and losing. What the fuck is that? That makes no sense. So hopefully they won't go to ratings. I know we saw yesterday about the ratings for this, but you got to be kidding me. Or the rankings. The rankings are so flawed, but that's where we take advantage of it. So anyway, today I got one lock going. It's with the USC lock of over. And I like a lot of the games today. Maybe I'd stay away from betting Ohio, but that wouldn't surprise me. But Fresno State, that's the free play. I like them. I think they win outright. Clemson and North Carolina, I don't really have. North Carolina's going to give them all they want, and they will score because May's a good quarterback. Clemson's quarterback sucks. Again, I don't understand he's an option quarterback, so we got to keep him in, even though the second quarterback is 20 times better. I mean, what is wrong with this coach? But that's why they're not in the playoff, because the coach has made bad decisions by taking the wrong quarterback. UTSA won by Frank Harris' team, and Utah, there was no way they were going to lose after USC plays UCLA and Notre Dame back-to-back. They got nothing left, which is what it looked like. K-State, TCU, this should be a very good game. Probably tease the dog, but TCU, I think TCU wins, but I think this is a very good game. Tease the dog, and especially over. Troy beats Coastal Carolina. Tulane, UCF, I think Tulane wins. I got a feeling Tulane, they beat Cincinnati. UCF looked terrible against South Florida, who really sucks. So I think that Tulane wins this game, but again, I think it's an over. And Michigan beats Purdue because, Coach Paul, they want to win the Big Ten. That's what they used to say when they'd lose to Notre Dame. Well, we can still win the Big Ten, even though we lost to UCLA or Notre Dame or Colorado or one of these teams, but we can win the Big Ten. They never wanted to win championships. It was incredible. Hey, Greg and John, what's going on? So, free pick today, Fresno State. You had it with Utah over, which won. And one lock today, 4 or 5 good plays. And then tomorrow, free play, the JETS, Jets, getting the 9. And Seattle is the free play over LA. Stafford's out, Aaron Donald's out, Cooper Kupp's out. Seattle is explosive. So I don't see how the Rams are going to stay in this. And I don't know why this spread's 7.5. Teaserking being analytical, this spread without those guys should be like 14. And you're getting a 7.5. And then why is Dallas 10.5 over Indy? They'll never cover that. Hey, Todd. Clemson has many injuries. Yeah, I know that. No, bet it over. I took it over. Didn't I give it to you over? Or maybe I didn't put it on the card. But, yeah, it's an over because you can tease the Carolina, which I think Carolina is explosive. We know May, good quarterback, lights it up. We know that. Well, let's look at this North Carolina State game last week, right? So here's how I come to the conclusion. Remember, this is a class. Clemson plays South Carolina 31-30. Then they lose. They give up 31 to Rattler, who sucks, but all of a sudden lights up Tennessee and thinks he's a quarterback. And now he lights up Clemson. To your say, Todd, Clemson, where's Clemson's defense giving up 31 here? So we know North Carolina has got a much better offense than South Carolina. So we look at Clemson's bad defense. They're going to give up the 30 points to North Carolina. Clemson got 30 on South Carolina, who's probably got a similar, little weaker defense than North Carolina. And we look at North Carolina, plays North Carolina State, and they lose 30-27. North Carolina State with a really strong defense, stronger than Clemson's, but they get up 27 on that. So South Carolina puts up 31. North Carolina will put up mid-30s. Clemson still put up 30 on South Carolina, who's got an SEC-type defense. And North Carolina, though, gives up 30 to North Carolina State without their quarterback, right? Quarterback's out, kind of a weak offense, gives up 30 to NC State. And it's not a rivalry game. The rivalry is North Carolina Duke, not North Carolina State. So by them giving up 30 to North Carolina State without their quarterback, hence Clemson should get into the 30s. So this is a 30-30 game, which is a 60 based on last week's results. So neither team's defense is really good. Both teams' offense should be able to score, which puts you in the 60s. When we look at it, the over-under is 63.5, so we go 57.5. Shouldn't be a problem for these teams to get there. Now, can Clemson – I doubt they'll blow out North Carolina. It's what do you like better, tomato or tomato? Yeah, you can take the 13.5 with North Carolina. Probably a good play. I just think the over 63 down to 57.5 is the better play. That's my bet today, is over in the game. It's just, yes, Clemson doesn't have a defense. I agree. In North Carolina, they should. North Carolina can win the game, but after giving up the points they gave up to North Carolina State, I don't want to bet on their defense either. So it becomes an offensive game, much like Utah USC. I could have taken Utah. I told you I liked Utah as the dog. I just like the over better. I like the over better in this game because I don't see a defense. Well, it's the better percentage play. For the reasons I just gave, they both gave up 30 points last week. So they're both good offensive teams. So I'm looking for at least a 60, if not more. And when you get into these championship games, they tend to be emotional, and one team tends to keep scoring, right? Like Utah yesterday, right? They got it. Look at UTSA. UTSA 48-27 and Utah 47-24. They tend to be emotional, and when they start putting the hammer down on you, they keep scoring. And then what do? Oh, it's 4th and 20 at our own 5. We're going to go for it. And that's how stupid they are, which leads to more touchdowns. I just think in today's game with these idiots going for 4th down that you get more opportunities to score. And for sure, North Carolina, Clemson. North Carolina's got a great quarterback in May, 100 times better than Trubisky, which goes to my point about how the pros, they take Trubisky, and I'm like, this guy played 1 year, and I wasn't impressed. I'm more impressed with May than Trubisky. I would take May, but I wouldn't put him in the first round. I'd be taking Rising, the Utah quarterback, in the first round. And somehow they end up with the Alabama and the Ohio State quarterbacks taking, 1 and 2, and you're like, what the fuck is that? To me, Rising is the same as Joe Burrow. He is just as good as Joe Burrow. I would take him with the number 1 pick. And right behind is McCall and Van Dyke and Spencer Sanders and Duggan at TCU and, Bo Nix. And then you got Thompson Robinson at UCLA and Williams at USC. I don't think he's coming out yet. So boom, boom, boom. You've got, it's the quarterback, and there's a ton of them. Hooker at Tennessee got hurt. It's a knee. Maybe I lay away from him in the first round. He looks good. But But I don't think Alabama's quarterback's all that wonderful. I think it's the system, and you can see they're a little weaker this year. And what's happening? Alabama's losing. Now, I hate when they look at a Heisman Trophy based on the fact that you didn't lose. I'm listening to one program. They're talking about, see, they get off on these. This is BetMGM, and they want you to bet. So they come up with these stupidest bets. Well, this guy's going to gain 85 yards in the game or more. Or let's look at the MVP voting. Who gives a fuck? I'm not going to bet on MVP and how many wins somebody has. So they're talking about MVP, and I think in the NFL, and they're trying to base it on wins and losses. Well, if KC only loses one more game, Mahomes will probably win it, and well, maybe Hurts if Philadelphia only loses one. What does that have to do with anything? The MVP is the best player in the league, is not based on wins and losses. It's the best player. Is Tom Brady still the best player in the league? Absolutely, by a mile. Mahomes is very good, and I don't know. Rodgers is up there, but no, we're going to give it to Hurts because they've only lost one game. Oh, look at their schedule. Who they played? Tell me a team they played. They beat Dallas. Oh, okay. So if Dallas is undefeated, you're going to give it to Prescott? He sucks. Or Lamar Jackson? He sucks. So, I mean, it's got to be based on the player being good. So college rising should win the Heisman Trophy if you want the best player. I don't know what they're looking at. But anyway, that's what these idiots do. Now, remember, Todd, it's not the safe bet. We're looking at the best chance to win because the goal of this is to win. It's not necessarily safe. It's risk and reward. I play the same risk as if I play the over or if I play the 13. Now I have to bet the game. Now I can't bet it when it's over. Is North Carolina in 13 a good bet? Absolutely. Is the over a good bet? Absolutely, because I just told you both defenses suck, right? So I think they can score 57 points is a little bit better bet than North Carolina in 13 and a half. Maybe not. Maybe North Carolina 13 and a half wins, but I can't see them winning. So if we go into trying to pick it, do I take the 13? The odds on them winning, the odds on them getting beat 24-14 versus 37-30 are so slim that I can't even think of it. I can think of them losing by 13, but only if it's a high-scoring game. So Clemson puts up a 45 on them, and North Carolina gets, so let's say it's 45-30. You lose the 13 and a half, but guess what? It's 75. I can see that happening far greater than a 24-10 game or 24-14 game, right? That's not going to happen. So when you look at the final score, so this is where you get rid of the points. Clemson plays North Carolina. Both teams are explosive. Both teams have weak defenses. Give me a score. And you're going to say 37-30 or 44-40, right? You're going to say a high number, which gives you the over in the bet more than it gives you take the dog, like Utah USC. Yeah, I liked Utah in the 9, but I know we're going to get I know it's going to be at least a 60-point game, which is all I needed. And I said, somebody's in the 40s and somebody's at least 25, which is exactly what you got, 47-24, a 71. Now, I didn't know Utah would get the 47, but I knew there'd be a 40, maybe to a 30. So, yeah, I could have taken that, but the odds on it getting the 40 and the 30 and getting into the 70s was probably 99% last night. There was no way that wasn't going to happen because USC scores and Utah with Rising, as long as Rising's playing, scores. And I watched the pregame, 10 minutes before the game. He was just firing the balls. He was ready. You could see. So I didn't have any issue knowing it's a high-scoring game. So back to step one is look at the game with no spread, no over-under, and pick the score. And that's how you pick it. And that's not the safe bet, but the wise bet. That's the smartest way to play it. So when you look at UCF Tulane, that's a very, do I want UCF? Tulane just beat Cincinnati, and UCF's defense against South Florida, they gave up 35 points. Tulane scored 27 on a tough Cincinnati defense. So Tulane's going to score a lot. Will UCF stay in there? Now, I think it'll be somewhat high scoring, and it's a 56 is a 50. So a 50 is 28-24. I absolutely see that going over 28-24. That's how I arrive at the over versus the total. Now, let's look at a different scenario. Fresno State, Boise State. My spread, Fresno State -7. So when I'm looking at the game, I see Fresno State winning. It could be 24-20 because, they both have fairly good defenses. But Hayner's going to pull the game out at the end because he's clutch. He's much better than the Boise quarterback. So I see Fresno State with a good chance to win. But I don't know the score because I'm looking at two under defenses. But with two good quarterbacks, I don't know which way to go. So the over comes out Boise 3.5 and 54.5. Well, what do I like? Well, I think Fresno is going to win, so that lets me go to Fresno and 9.5. The over-under of 54, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it's an over or an under. I can't. The game could be 20-17. It could be 35-30. I'm not sure which way it is because I have Hayner, but both defenses are pretty good, although Boise's been playing higher games. If you put a gun to my head, I would say it's an over, but Fresno State with Hayner and 9.5 is the better bet because I think Fresno State wins the game. So therefore, I take the team. So that's the example of me taking the team versus USC Utah, where the over is just highlighted, flashing, bet the over. So that's the thing. Now, yes, I liked Utah at 9 also because I thought it would be a dog game. Pretty much TCU K-State, I think, is a dog game. But again, the over's flashing. TCU's such an explosive offense, and K-State's been scoring a ton also. So I hate to be on TCU and K-State wins, and I hate to be on K-State and 7.5 and TCU wins by 10, which was the first game, 38-28. So I'd hate to guess wrong on the team, but I am certain the game gets over 55. I mean, that's a joke. 61 down to 55. 28-27. This is a 60-point game easy. This is a both teams in the 30 game easy, if not the 40. And again, in the big game, it tends to get going. They score and score and score, as you saw yesterday. And they don't take mercy. And TCU wants to get in the playoff. I don't know if Kansas State can get in the playoff if they beat TCU. But if they beat TCU, they sure as shit should be in the playoff. Again, the playoff is so bad. It's so stupid. It's like I watch a movie and I like it. Then I watch it a couple times. And the more I watch it, the stupider it gets. Like, what's the point? Like, a perfect example is Ocean's 12, right? We all liked Ocean's 11. Then you look at Ocean's 12, and at first you kind of like it because you like seeing the crew back. And as you're watching it, the second or third time and you're thinking about it, you go, this is the dumbest movie I've ever seen. The storyline is absolutely ridiculous that this guy's going to tell on Ocean that he robbed him. Who would do that? Then he wants to prove he's the best. This guy's done all these robberies. He lives in a mansion on a lake in Italy. What the fuck does he need to prove he's the best for? He's a thief. Then you have this whole little bet. Why would he want to bet $200 million? Why would he want to even bet $200 million? It makes no sense. And then he loses because he doesn't think that the other guys know Lamarck, and then it shows you where Ocean's crew gets their skill is by Lamarck training them also. But you would have liked to have seen Lamarck in action to see why he's so good, right? Because he doesn't – what did he do? He He got the A because he knew the information. Um, just a second. I got to hide this stupid idiot. But when you think of it, you absolutely go, this is the dumbest movie. The whole plot. Why would the guy tell Benedict? Why would they get it all involved? I mean, and you would think Oceans being scammers would be able to pay Benedict off or have somebody go visit Benedict to kill him if they that's what they needed with their connections. But when you watch the movie, and it's so stupid. The whole thing, with Rusty and the girl in the beginning. Well, if she wasn't gonna rat him out, then why didn't she say, "I know it's you, but don't worry about it. I'm not gonna rat you out." I mean, they're going together and they don't know each other. So I just find so stupid the movie after you get over that. Oh, okay, the gang's together. The whole thing was just pure stupidity. It would never happen. Now, I could see the robbery of the casino possibly happening, to a point. I don't know. That's as far as stretch, but I can see robberies. I can see money heist much easier than Ocean's 11, but Ocean's 12 made absolutely no sense that somebody's going to rat him out and they're all going to get killed so he can prove he's the best. What a stupid storyline. And then why are they going through the whole act of all getting nicked and going to jail and what was the whole thing? And then he needed the mother to get him out. Like they couldn't just pay somebody to get him out. I mean, when you watch it like that, the movie is the dumbest movie, the dumbest second movie. They could have done something else where Lamarck's in trouble and they got to get Lamarck out and he's the best. And they go back and they show Lamarck robbing and then showing how good he is, but he needs their help. Would have made a hell of a lot more sense, like Money Heist, the second one, where the guy gets caught and they got to free him out of jail. Okay, that makes sense. And I hope they do a third one where they need to get the gold out of Russia because of the war or somebody, professor's kid that he has gets in trouble and they got to free him, which is sort of a similar storyline to the second one. But these movies are so freaking stupid. Like when you watch it, you go, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. It makes no sense. Anyway. So I guess that said, any other comments on college? I think the game starts at noon, the K-State TCU. And then it's like the 3:30 game is, I think, Georgia. And then the night game's Michigan and all like that. Troy and Tulane are probably not on ABC. So it should be a good day. And then we'll get our bowls, and then we'll do bowls once we get the bowls. I assume tomorrow. But the playoff should be Utah, TCU, Michigan, and Georgia. Alabama should not be in with 2 losses. And Ohio State should not be in because they didn't beat anybody. Maybe they're okay, but the way they looked against Michigan, they shouldn't be in any playoff. And then the Pac-12 should not get screwed here. So in other words, if Alabama gets in ahead of Utah and UCLA, that's ridiculous. What did Alabama do? They lost 2 games to weak teams. So why would they be in? Because they have 2 losses and the Pac-10 teams have 2 losses because they played a killer schedule, or the Big 12. TCU is also undefeated. So TCU should definitely be in. And they can definitely win it all. No problem. They'll have trouble with Georgia, but not Michigan. I don't see Michigan that good because of who they played. They haven't shown me, and I don't like their quarterback. I know somebody had a comment last week, Michigan beat Ohio State. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't like this quarterback because I am very strong in analyzing talent. That's why I'm very strong at predicting games. I'm betting on Rising yesterday, and Rising won for me. I like Frank Harris at UTSA. He won for me. I look at JJ Walker here at Michigan, and he doesn't impress me at all. That's my point. Corum impressed me, but now he's out. So, okay, they have other running backs. Their defense, I have no idea. They haven't played a team with an offense yet. So it's very hard to jump on Michigan and say how good they are when they played 12 games and haven't beaten a good team. Okay, Ohio State, but did Ohio State look like a good team last week? Their safeties falling down and Michigan catching balls wide open with no defenders around them. You're going to say that Ohio State looked really good? So I question that. They did beat Notre Dame, but that was week 1 with the rookie quarterback. I doubt they would have beat Notre Dame down the stretch. They didn't play Illinois. Their best win was what? Iowa. Give them credit for that one. So Ohio State's okay. They're not as good as I thought they were. Watching the Utah, UCLA's, and the Oak States, and Texas, and Baylor's, they're much better than Michigan and Ohio State. It's not even close. So this is the problem we have, is because they lose a couple of games, they get fucked over. And it's really terrible. But anyway, we'll go through it one more time. So I like Ohio over Toledo, Georgia under against LSU, Fresno State as the dog, free pick, North Carolina Clemson over, K-State TCU over, Troy under with I like Troy straight up against Coastal Carolina and under 2. Tulane over against UCF, and Michigan Lane 10.5 should beat Purdue if they play and they try, which I would like to think that Georgia and Michigan would. What kind of playoff is this? You can lose and make the playoff. No. You don't win your conference. You don't win this. You're not in it. You've got to be the conference champ, not this bullshit. Well, you're undefeated because you played nobody, but even if you lose, you only have 1 loss, and other teams have 2 losses, even though they played much, much harder schedules than you. This is just bullshit. So anyway, hopefully it gets fixed, in 2024? But anyway, questions or comments? And again, the Bear-Packer game isn't over. Both quarterbacks will play. Both defenses suck. This is only a 43. Just jump on it over for tomorrow. Free pick tomorrow, the Jets, Jets, and the Seattle Seahawks. Laying 1.5. Stafford's out. Donald's out. Cup's out. There you go, folks. So have a good day. I'll stay on another minute or 2. Questions, comments, please ask. Anybody wanting to do a 5-team, 10-team teaser, please email me, www.teaserking.com. I'm in a few of them this week already. Again, I hit the USC Utah over, so that's already 1 winner. I hit the UTSA over, that's 2 winners. So I got, 6 or 7 more to go, which should be today, I think. I think I threw in the Seattle game on that just so I can trap it. All right, everybody, have a great day, and I will look forward. I'll see you tomorrow. If you need me, email me. You'll find my email on teaserking.com. You can email me with questions or comments or teasers or anything like that. All right, again, 3 locks tomorrow, 2 locks, which are 1 already hit USC over, 1 lock today. So there's 4 locks left. Had 5, won 1 already. So off we go. All right, should be a good day. Have a great day. Relax and enjoy. All right, take care.